All right, we are back with the death lineup, our 2023-2024 Warriors preview here. But, Brian, you actually went to the practice the other day, the live open practice that they had. How was that?
It was cool. It was something I've always wanted to go to. I think last year I wanted to go to too. I don't know what happened, but tickets were only $5. So I remember initially I was like, okay, only $5. I'll just go get an inventory on who wants to go and I'll make a bulk purchase. And by the time I got everyone who wanted to go, or didn't, I actually don't even know if I asked anyone. I just went and revisited the page. Oh, guess what? Because tickets are $5, they sold out instantly. So I was kind of down on. I was a little sad for a couple days there, but day of, I was like, oh, I'll just check TickPick and see what prices are looking like because people were trying to resell them when they bought them initially for like $50. And I was like, that is just messed up to just buy a $5.
You shouldn't be able to sell them. Like they should figure out a way to stop that. Like that's not
Yeah,
what
yeah.
they're for.
But I went on the TickPick site and I was like, why does it like? I thought all tickets were $5. So when I saw a $25 ticket for courtside seats, I was like, I think I'm gonna do that and just kind of hope that it's not a scam. So I just bought like 3 tickets for $25 each, courtside, and they were courtside. It was like the California Classic seats on the other side of the court.
Oh wow.
So yeah, it was we had really good seats, and I made like a video, like a really quick video, just like kind of encapsulating what went on, but it really was just like, think of like your high school stretches before a game or before a practice where you and the entire team are running to half court or full court and back doing like a specific stretch, whether it be lunges, so at the professional level that happens as well. The same stuff we do in like the middle school level. So they did that, and then they did some like one drill, but you could tell, they're going like 50% speed because the crowd's there. And then they brought some kids on to join them in the drills. And then I believe after that we went to the rookie hazing stuff, and it was done. It was like an hour and 15 minutes, an hour maybe, and that was it. And I would say it was especially if you can get those type of seats, I would go again. I don't know if I'd just go for the $5 ticket if I had like the double decker spot, but I liked being. If I could ever get a ticket courtside and it's like a reasonable price, I'll always do it no matter what the event is. I love Chase Center courtside.
Were the fans a little disappointed that it was only like an hour and 15 minutes?
It's a good question. I don't know. I don't know if anyone knew what to expect. Like, it was just an event that I was, I was kind of ready. I told the people I was with, I was like, it's only $25. So I don't care if we leave after like 45 minutes. Like, I just wanted to be there for a little bit, get a little bit of video. So I don't know if people were upset. I hope people didn't travel from like Gilroy, California to see this damn thing, though. I think it was worth it for me being in the city. I didn't really care when it started or ended.
All right, we're going to talk about the preseason, and we'll do a little bit of a preview. I have some questions as far as what we think is going to happen, who's going to play more, who's going to actually be better, and we'll get to that in a second. But I will say we got to see Victor Wembanyama, who was actually Victor Wembanyama for a good quarter. Fitz and Kalena were having some struggles with that name, and then Fitz even kind of made fun of the fact that they were mispronouncing it at some point. But I don't know, like against the Warriors, because the Warriors are one of the smaller teams in the league. He just looked like a giant. Like he looked like it was like the Warriors were playing against who's that Fantastic Four guy who can stretch his arms out and stuff?
Is that Mr. Fantastic?
Yeah, that's what it looked like, and I was very impressed with him. I will say he is going to lose them some games just for the mere fact that it seems like he's got the green light and he's going to take a lot of shots that are maybe not the best shot to take in certain situations. He destroyed Andrew Wiggins on a couple possessions, but I don't know if you caught this because I
think we're about to say the same thing.
Andrew Wiggins was able to put his forearm in Wemby's chest and move him. And there was a scenario where Wiggins did it once almost to say like, okay, like you got me a couple times, but here's really what happens when we get in the middle and you're going to try and block my shot. And he kind of gave him a little bit of the forearm and Wemby just flew out of bounds. In some cases, he may get a call, but because he's so big, I wonder if the refs are going to give him that call. He also does this one move where he goes, he comes from the baseline and he's almost coming from out of bounds, but because his arms are so long, he kind of scoops underneath the rim and he's able to drop it. I think people are going to catch on to that and they're going to be able to block that shot at some point if they position it well, if they wait for it. But man, what a fantastic exhibition experience that was, watching that young man play basketball. That was so cool.
Yeah, I think for me, I actually wasn't gonna say the strength thing. I was gonna say more so that I think this kid understands the position he's in of being this generational talent. He knows the eyes are on him, and I think he wants to make these spectacular plays. And I think because of that, he really helps off of he say he's guarding the corner or guarding the wing. He really helps off because he's block hungry. He wants to get that highlight play, that block. I bet you if you look at all the blocks that he helped off help side, how wide open the guy he was guarding is. Especially when he blocked Clay at the top of the perimeter, Wiggins was right next to him, wide open. I feel like that is something that he's going to learn, but for now you could take advantage of if just say like, hey, if you see Wemby coming, this guy's wide open. Like
he's going to get he'll get coached though as well, which is why
that'll be probably an easier fix. But also it's habitual. Like you just want to you're able to block something, so why wouldn't you go for it? So it's going to be an adjustment, but I think that everyone also wants to like sun him or like do like a welcome to the league moment, and I just feel like
they're going to try and dunk on him for sure.
Oh, yeah. But people
I'm picturing someone like Zion who has the bulk and the hops to try and move him and dunk through him. I could definitely see that attempt of that happening.
Yeah, and I lastly I think that with Wemby, like just his wingspan alone and his length and his ability to close out, like, and have those instincts, like it's something that none of these guys are used to. And so, like, I think it happened to both Wiggins and Clay, where when they took their 3-pointer, they were like, okay, this is usually a shot that, from when a defender's that far away, like, this is a wide open shot for me. And Wemby just cancels that. He's like, his wingspan alone just lets him block that stuff. So I think that's definitely going to be like a crazy adjustment for a lot of NBA players to make. And again, I don't think it's going to be anything to worry about this season, but maybe, when Spurs get better a couple seasons down,
that team is long. They're probably going to be inefficient offensively unless Vassell has a really good season, because I think he's probably going to be the 1A or the 1B with Wembanyama.
Mm-hmm.
But defensively, they are good. I think they could give some teams problems. Like Steph was. I was like, who's out here guarding Steph? Miles Bridges? What's going on? Like, and Steph wasn't playing, 110, but still, I was just like, wow, like they got length. They are able to, they have athleticism. The Warriors were trying to run certain stuff, and Chris Paul's just throwing the ball away and they're getting steals. Like, wow, this team, they have some athletes in, they're going to have some problems scoring the ball, I think. But
imagine if they had like their point guard is like somewhere down the line, like when they get their point. I think right now they have Tyus Jones' little brother, Trey Jones, as their point guard, but he didn't even start as point guard in this game. I don't know if he was hurt or something. I think it was Jeremy Sohan.
Sohan was
the power forward was playing point guard. But imagine if they had like a Cade Cunningham or like a Josh Giddey to finalize that, like, we're just a bigger team, and also Cade having the ability to kind of just do everything on the floor. I feel like that would be like a pretty crazy addition. I don't know how many other guys have that mold or that build, but that would be fun to add to their team as a point guard.
All right, we're not going to talk about the preseason all that much because we want to do a quick-ish show here on this Sunday evening. I have two players circled that I want to get your thoughts on when it comes to the preseason, and one of them is obviously, I think, all eyes on him when it came to this preseason, Jonathan Kuminga. Though I feel like Jonathan Kuminga had good preseason last year as well, but this year they let him basically be the do everything. He played a lot of minutes. He scored a lot of points. I think he was second in all of the preseason to who was it? Bane, I think. Desmond Bane was the leader in points per game in the preseason, but Kuminga was second. Does this transition to finally Kuminga having a real rotation spot, a consistent rotation spot, and someone who is going to be valuable to the success of the team? Is this the year?
Yes, I think he is going to be solidified as the 8th man in the rotation, probably ahead of Gary Payton, behind Chris Paul and Saric. I think, this is like a guy where I'm like 2 weeks removed of trying to trade him and Saric for Rob Williams. But I mean, just some context for that. Like, this is a guy where this is before the preseason, and the last tape we have of him is in that King series, and then he's mad he's not getting playing time. He's getting DMP'd for you name it. Like I forgot. I'm trying to Jermichael Green. Like this is a guy who most recently just didn't play, and so I was more so not low on Jonathan Kuminga. I was low on the idea that the Warriors would even give him the creativity and the green light to do what he did in this preseason. I don't really take much of the preseason of what he did, like the way he scored, like the way he created for himself. Like I think he's going to get a little bit of that in the regular season, but he's not going to. What did he shoot like a game? Like 16 shots, maybe. Like that's a guess. Like he's not going to shoot that in the regular season. But I do think what he showed offensively, to me, I think I mentioned it after the first preseason game, was just I feel like he's always been someone who's tried to dunk on everyone, and I thought that some of the stuff he was doing at the rim, where there was more finesse to it, I think that will translate. And I definitely think that's something he's probably been working on. And the 3-ball looks legit. Like we'll see when teams start closing out on him, but that's a good thing if teams are closing out on him, because right now they're giving it to him wide open.
Is he going to make the pass though?
That's the next step, right? So yeah, we'll see with that. Hopefully, but I think I buy. There's specific things I buy from the preseason. I don't buy the leading points per game thing. I don't buy the shot attempts. I kind of buy the creativity. I think there's going to be opportunities for him in the second unit with Chris Paul and with probably Clay, where he could create just a tad, but it's not going to be to the effect of what we see.
I think ball handling is still going to be an issue. He's way too free with that basketball, especially when he's driving. They're just, because what you just said, they're not going to want to get dunked on. They know that once he gets going and in the air, it's a bucket. And so I think they're going to try and stop him at the ball handling level, at the slapping the ball out of his hands level. And I think he's too free with that basketball sometimes. I think, I don't know, he had 13 turnovers in 3 games. He was about 14, a little bit over 14 shots a game. I don't know how many of those turnovers were because of what I just said, where it just seemed like they were able to punch the ball out a little bit. But he looked really good, and I think the ask of him is be a finisher, get us a bucket, get us a 2. You're going to have opportunities to go one-on-one against people. When we get the right matchup, you can go. And then, as the Steph is doubled, Clay is doubled. Oh, Kuminga's open in the corner. He's got to take that shot, and he's got to be able to keep hitting it at a high level. He shot it 8 of 17 in the preseason. Also, Moses Moody shot it very well in the preseason, 8 of 16 from 3. He single-handedly tried to bring them back in that San Antonio game on Friday. But Moses looked good. It's just, I think we're sort of waiting for Moses to turn into an explosive athlete, and that's just not who he is. So they're going to have to figure out how he fits in, not being the explosive athlete as of like an Iguodala type person. But Iguodala is a freaky athlete. Like there's not a lot of guys who are like him. But Moses is just going to be a little bit more stationary, and he's going to have to be smart. But he was efficient. I like the way he played. Sometimes, you can see him get locked up in a move, and that's where maybe the lack of athleticism comes, where you can kind of lock him. Like he's like going right, and they stop him going right, and he just like kind of gets stuck. So, but again, he's not going to be asked to do a lot of that. He's going to be asked to hit the open shot. He's going to be asked to take advantage of the defense and be efficient. So I did like seeing both of those guys. I thought both of them played really well. But you know who out-rebounded both of them? B. Pods. B. Pods was the second leadingest rebounder in the preseason for the Warriors.
That's so impressive. That's something that translates. That's something he was advertised as, right? So, and that's why I made the DiVincenzo comparison when we drafted him. But it really is just they're both white guys with ginger hair.
And so he led the team in rebounds. Well, second to Looney in rebounds, and led the team in assists in the preseason. But you can tell he's a little reluctant with that shot. He likes the floater. He likes to get in the middle and create there, but the outside shot, he was very, very
Which
much
is
passing it
interesting.
up.
He's supposed to be knocked down. He's supposed to be knocked down. So
He was passing it up for sure.
that's it. Yeah, it's
You could
definitely
tell.
interesting. You know who else was I thought passing it up a lot?
Hmm.
I don't know if the stats back this, if you have this up, but Chris Paul, I felt like did not really shoot the ball like at all. Like his patented
Four of
mid-range.
10 for the whole preseason.
He shot 10 shots for the whole like that. I feel like that. I don't know if that's just a preseason thing for him, but like a big part of Chris Paul is that mid-range game. Like that is a big, that's what keeps the defense on their toes. It's what will help us when we get into these 3 happy modes and when he can come and slow it down if Wiggs isn't there yet. I feel like that's another player we should talk about where Wiggs is he going to be able to get back to that 2021, 2020 form. But in the meantime, like
I'm
Chris
surprised.
Paul,
I just figured Wiggs, like they just didn't catch him on camera, but he's just constantly yawning during these games. Like, he's kind of tired. Waiting for the regular season to start. But yeah, he's kind of sleepwalking out there for sure.
He is. So I maybe they don't take as much stock into these games as some of the, it is kind of for the younger players to shine and to see what some lineups look like. But yeah, I mean, going back to Kuminga though, it's like the Warriors plus minus guys I feel like they were talking like the way they were talking about him, I was like, oh shit. Like I thought, Slater's always been pretty high on him and like had that like all-star aspirations for him. So I've kind of like, I think I've been in a similar mindset with Slater there, but hearing MT and TK being like, I don't want to completely quote them because I don't have the exact quote, but they both kind of sounded like, can he be the 3rd best player on this team this season? I was like, what? Like this is where we are with this guy. So I was a little taken aback by that. And of course, like if he starts turning into that stuff, yeah, this completely changes the trajectory for not only this year, but years to come.
Well, he can be the 3rd best player, but in order for him to be the 3rd best player, a couple of guys have to fall out, and one of those guys who did not have a good few games in the preseason was Clay. Like he shot the 3 good, but he did not look like he had much energy or much bounce. And I was
Which
just
is
hoping.
interesting.
Yeah, I was hoping because because it's been
His
a couple
off
years
season.
now. I thought he would have a little bit more. And but he was hunting, definitely hunting. It's almost like he hunts to get hot. And I don't know if they'll be able to afford him to do that this year. So we'll see how that plays out. But the last person I wanted to ask you about, Trace Jackson Davis. Tim Kawakami said he's already better than James Wiseman.
Jesus Christ.
That was amazing. That was an amazing comparison to me. I think
he should have just said for the Warriors, but I guess does he genuinely mean like
maybe
one-on-one?
Maybe that's what he means is for the Warriors. But
that's what I thought. Like I saw that and I was like, I completely agree with that. But
who he reminds me of? He reminds me of he's not as explosive of a jumper, but he reminds me of a mature, responsible version of Jordan Bell.
Interesting.
Because Jordan Bell, he could get stuff and he could make stuff happen for the team when they needed it, because of his athleticism. But there was a little bit of a dog in him that first year, and then he kind of maybe didn't work as hard that second year or whatever. And I don't even know if is he on their G League team?
No, I don't know where he is.
Yeah, I don't know where he is. So Trace Jackson Davis can do some of that stuff, and they were using him a little bit of a rim runner. They were penetrating and dishing off to him. They were throwing alley-oops to him, and he was just in the right spot almost every time. Now, when he tried to put the ball on the floor, yeah, it was cookies a couple different times. When he tried to go ISO or post, you could just tell like it wasn't his deal. But as somebody to get some offensive rebounds, somebody to run the fast break, to get some easy buckets that way, he looked really good in that situation. But do you think he even? I mean, does he really get to play that much? Is my question.
I think he'll have opportunities. Trying to think of like It might be situational based sometimes with what they need I think Sarge is actually going to be like a great fit with the Warriors, but
Sarge was awesome in those 3
Sarge was
games.
awesome.
He was really good.
But I'm wondering, is there going to be like if Trey keeps showing some more stuff on defense? Like I thought he was really good against Sabonis. Then maybe there are like matchup opportunities where it's like, okay, we think Trace would be better than Sarge in this matchup. But I think that won't happen that often. I think Sarge is going to be yeah. So that's a good question.
Sabonis is still so annoying, man. God,
Leave that guy alone.
BA Sabonis. That's who he's going to be all year for me. And plus, the Kings team is good, so that's why if the Kings team was bad and we just beat them by 30, I wouldn't care about Sabonis at all. So
this is the most difficult thing about the Western Conference is that like the Kings were what the 2 or the 3 seed this past season, and it's like they didn't get worse. Like I don't know I'm so confused with this Western Conference this year. Yeah. I tweeted that I think like 12 of 15 teams, you could tell me that they got the 2 seed and I'd believe you. You know, like the Pelicans were the 1 seed at some point last year, and then Zion went down. The Utah Jazz were the 1 seed at some point last year. You know, like it was such a weird Western Conference we're in right now.
Oh yeah, totally.
I don't know how to. I just don't know how to rank it out.
All right, let's go to some of the thoughts, some of the predictions, some of the season preview-y stuff that I did put together. Let's go. If I put the over under for wins for the Warriors, God. Now what did they win last year?
Yeah, that's what I need to see.
What are they like? 43 wins, maybe
20.
I think they were like 43 and 39 or something like that. Or were they 44 and 38? It was something around there as far as wins. This is bad pod, man. What do you have? Slow internet?
I'm just typing with one hand. I can't even find it.
2022 NBA.
I got it. They were 44 and 38, and they were the 6th seed with that record.
Okay, so I think we hope that their regular season goes a little better because just at the fact that they can't be as bad of a road team as they were last year. So if I put the over under at 47.5, so they would have to get to 48 wins in order to hit that over. Would you take the over or under?
I'd take the under.
Interesting.
Look, this is a Western Conference where the Denver Nuggets were the 1 seed at 53 wins. The Memphis Grizzlies were the 2 seed at 51 wins. Sacramento with 48 wins at the 3 seed. And this Warriors team is going to get 47. That would put them at the 4th. Like, I mean, this is just using last year's stuff. But I just think we're about to see a similar Western Conference like we did last year where everything is kind of, you know, what is it? From Phoenix Suns were the 4 seed all the way down to like, you know, the Oklahoma City Thunder at the 10 seed was all within a couple games. Like, I feel like we're about to see something like that again.
I agree with you that it's probably under, but if they're 43 or 44 and 38 like last year, I think that's a disappointment.
I think it is too. I'd probably guess around the 40. I'd probably guess around the 47, 46 range. Is that what the over under is at? Like,
I don't know. I just created that. I don't know. I don't know what the actual, you know what? I did listen to Simmons and House and Russillo. I don't remember what that number was for that. I want to say it was like 40. I thought it was like 44 or something.
Interesting. Yeah, I would take the over of 44.
All right.
I think there is an opportunity where they come out swinging and there's like if all things stay good, like they are a top 3 seed, I think there is a world. I mean, even top 2, I do think that there is a world where that can happen.
All right.
But I think just based off what we saw last year, it's kind of hard to make that prediction and be confident about saying that after literally what we just saw less than a calendar year ago.
Okay, so you just kind of mentioned it, which was my next question. Where in the West seeding do you see them? I say if they're right around the 4 and they actually have home court advantage in the first round, I think I'd be fine with that.
Me too.
But if they are below that, I think, you know, our hopes and dreams of what the season could or should be like would be not great for the team.
Yeah, I think if they're anything less than the 4 seed, that's a disappointment as well. Not only the 44 wins thing, I think if they're a less, because I think what hurt them last year was the Kings series going to 7 games made them really tired for game 1 versus the Lakers, which was a must win because the Lakers 1-6, so they had that extra opportunity to not play and rest. And I think the Warriors going to 7 with the Kings was because they fooled around in the regular season, all the stuff that happened last season and not having home court advantage. I think that is why that went to 7. So I think they should, if there is something about last season, it's like, the regular season is important, even though we were the 6th seed and got to the second round. Like, we would have liked to have that home court advantage, got it done earlier, and then had a better chance against the Lakers last season.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is like internally, I'm sure that's something that's very important, is at least being the 4 seed.
All right, here's an interesting one. And I put this together without even knowing what last year's numbers were, and they're very close. Who has more minutes played per game between Chris Paul and Klay Thompson?
Klay.
I would say Klay as well, but it is actually closer than I realized when you look at the numbers from last year. Klay
Chris Paul
played
starting last year.
right, and we don't know that he's not starting this year. Chris Paul played 32 minutes a game. Klay played 33 minutes a game. Now, you say it's about starting. It is probably about starting. But there are going to be some games where Klay's like 6 for 18. And Steve might just roll with CP, right? Like you have that option now where, you have sort of the vet at the end of the game. And, you talked about that mid-range 2. Like that mid-range 2 might be a better shot late in the game than Klay hunting, Klay pump faking, fade away from the corner. Like you almost would rather have that CP. You almost believe more that Chris could get to his spot right now than Klay could get to his spot.
Yes, I agree with that.
Okay, what about more games played? Same 2 guys.
Klay.
Okay.
I think we want Chris to play less games and less minutes. I think we want that.
We do, but that would mean things are going correctly. Things are going the way that the Warriors want them to go.
Ooh, okay.
Well, okay. So last year, Chris only played 59. Klay played 69. And now Klay was not playing most back-to-backs last year. I imagine he will probably play more back-to-backs this year if he's feeling healthy. And, now with this this load management rule, whatever this load management rule even is, that affects CP more than it affects Klay, because Klay hasn't been an all-star in the time frame in which they are, and CP has been an all-star. So, all right, what about I'm going to give you a points per game for one Wardell, Stephen Curry. Now, I will tell you, in the last few years, when it comes to points per game, last year, Steph was at 29.4. The year they won the title, 25.5. The year before, they missed the playoffs because they lost the play-in.
Like 32
points a game. Now, the one thing that is a little bit different for him is actually, I mean, it was different for the season in which the Warriors won the title, is his 3-point percentage was down, but he's going to be around 42-43%. He hasn't been higher than that since 18-19 when he was at 43.7, and obviously that historical season where he won the unanimous MVP, he was at 45.4 on 11.2 tries a game. This dude chucked 12.7 tries in 2021 when they missed the playoffs
from 3.
Yeah, 12.7. Yeah. That's amazing. All right, so the numbers. The 3 KD years, he was 27.3, 26.4, 25.3. But the non-KD years, he's been hovering, closer to that 30 mark. I'm going to put it at 28.5. Do you go higher or lower for Steph's points per game?
I'm going to go higher because I was going to put it at 29. I genuinely have a hunch that this Steph has, I don't know what the odds are for MVP, but I'd give him top 3 odds with him, Tatum, and maybe Luka. Like, I don't know if I'd give Jokic his third. Embiid, like, I don't know if he's going to go back to back. Giannis, maybe. But I think Steph Curry should have top 3 MVP odds this season. And, like, so I think I would go at the 29. But no, that's something I definitely have a hunch. That's a hunch for me. I think I think my MVP right now and penciled in my head is Tatum. I think there's probably just going to be the 1 seed in the East with them or Milwaukee, and I'm sure he's just going to have another durable, really good season. But no, I think Steph should be, and especially if the Warriors are a top 3 seed. I definitely think it's possible, and I think he's going to average at least 29.
All right, 3-pointers per game for Steph.
No, my
He
goodness.
has been. There have been 3 years in his career where he has been at 5 makes or higher. Those seasons were his unanimous MVP season, his 18-19 season, so the last Durant season, he was at 5.1, and his 2021 season where he was at 5.3. That's the highest number of makes in his career per game. Last year, 4.9 threes per game. Over under 5. What are you thinking? So you think he's going to get closer to 5.1, 5.3-ish, and that's where, if he gets, over 5, you're going to be right about that 29 points a game, I think.
Yeah, I feel like I have to run with it.
Okay.
Can I pitch one to you?
Yeah, go for it.
Are we staying on Steph, or were you staying on Steph for this next one?
No, but you can stay on Steph if you want.
Okay. No, I was not going to stay on Steph. I was going to say, do you think the 6th Man of the Year award will be in Golden State? I think so. If I have this right here, let me pull this up.
So you're talking JK?
I'm talking JK. I'm talking CP. So the last 6th Man of the Year award was Malcolm Brogdon, and then he averaged 14.9 points per game. The year before that, Tyler Hero at 20. Jordan Clarkson the year before that at 18.4. Montrezl Harrell 18.6 the year before that. And some of these aren't really totally like Montrez. I guess he was kind of a scoring punch off the bench, but I personally don't think it needs to be like, you need to be like this great scorer to win it. Like, that's what you're primarily providing. I think CP with assists and if they win and his plus minus stuff, I think that should all go into it if for him. But I do feel like the minimum for 6th Man of the Year is probably 14 points per game. Do you think that CP or JK can win this award? And if you do, who do you think would be more likely to get it?
If the Warriors are going to have a really good season, I feel like CP has to be a little bit of the Andre in that he's got to be the adult. He's got to be the consistent guy to run that second team. And if he is that, then JK is not even the 6th man. JK is like the 7th or the 8th man. But
that doesn't.
But JK could have a fantastic season, highly efficient season, because CP is good for them or has a great season. Like, I'd rather see. I'm sure for JK's contract extension, he wants to win that award. But I think in order for the Warriors to do what we hope the Warriors do, that has to be something where CP is actually higher ranked.
Yeah, I agree.
JK.
I agree. I think there is an opportunity there. I think Emmanuel Quickley has the best odds right now in New York, but I don't know. I think, history tells us that these voters do favor the points per game stuff. Like, it's a shame that Iguodala has never won this award, and I feel like that's just bad for the people who have votes that Iguodala never won this award. But hey, right your wrongs now. If CP, he might not average 20 points per game, but if he averages 14 and 8 or something, like, I don't know about 8 assists, but if the Warriors are winning and CP is a clear reason in that second unit as to why we're maintaining leads and playing well, like that needs to be considered. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
like,
here's the value for Chris, which is when Steph leaves the court, the Warriors can't be a -7.
Yeah.
If the Warriors are a -2 or an even, then that's a win, and CP is like one of the more valuable players in the league at that point.
I agree.
Like, be able to swing that. So that's the stat that I think hardcore diehard Warriors fans should look at, is that the non-Steph minutes.
The Steph's on-off splits. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, here's one. I think this answer is actually kind of easy, but I'm still interested in your thoughts, which is, who has more games played by the end of the season? Now, obviously, injury could happen, and this may not be a fair one, but Corey Joseph or B Pods?
Can you repeat that one more time?
Who's going to play more games this season? Who's going to have less DNPs, I guess?
Corey Joseph.
I think so too. But
yeah,
I wonder, as we get through the season, obviously, because B Pods is going to be playing some G League games, right?
Mhm.
Like I don't know how many he can play, but he's going to be playing some of that. So they won't need him on some of those trips. But I do wonder, if we get to the second half of the season, Corey Joseph is like just a model of consistency. Like, if you just look at his numbers. So last year, he's 7 points, 3.5 assists the year before, 8 points, 3.6 assists the year before that, 12 and 5.5 the year before that, 6.6 and 2.5. So you kind of know what you're going to get. And I think that was probably the draw for them to get him, shoot at a 38% level from three. So you know what you're going to get, and you just hope that keeps turnovers down, and that they, he's not a big turnover guy. 1 turnover per game, pretty much for his career. But there's just so much more possibility, I feel, if B Pods is actually a pretty good player. Like, he could make Corey Joseph, less important. But then again, the Warriors signed Corey Joseph to be another adult in the room. So yeah, they will probably be better off if Corey Joseph has a pretty decent season.
Did you listen to the latest? I think he did Slater did an all 82 with Nate Duncan.
The deep voiced Nate Duncan.
Did you like it? I thought it was good.
Did
you listen to it?
Yeah,
I thought it was good. I liked what they said about B Pods, and like kind of like he's already like he doesn't play like a rookie, and I agree with that sentiment.
Yeah,
I think he's really composed, and I feel like I hope he gets the opportunity. I know he will get the opportunity at some point, which is kind of how these guys, how this team rests guys, or how if someone gets injured, B Pods will have the opportunity. And I think if he does have I think you're right that if Corey Joseph has the better season, that's better for the Warriors. But I mean, I feel like it's pretty close for me.
For the fans and for the culture, if B Pods is running point at the end there, it'll be fun.
Yeah. B Pods at the point is fun.
For those who are checking us out on YouTube, want to say thank you, appreciate it. If you can, I'm gonna pull a Larry Kruger here. My buddy Mike Gilbert told me that this is what Larry does, and Larry's very successful at this YouTube stuff. So if you can give us a little thumbs up on the video, I think that sort of helps with algorithms and stuff. So just that's just a small request from us. But okay, I have a couple more for you. Kevon Looney, games played, over under 81.5.
Let's I feel like under is the easiest one. Let's go over, man. He's all 82 for 2 years in a row.
All 82. And that Slater should call that podcast the Kevon Looney podcast. Yes. Yeah, just call it Looney.
Yep.
That's what it is. He's all 82. All right, best case, worst case scenario. So this exercise is, if everything goes right, what does it look like for the Warriors? And if everything doesn't go right, what could it look like for the Warriors on a negative side? So I'll do the best case here. So best case for the Warriors is I think that with this current unit, they get off to a really good start. They show they can win on the road. Chris Paul is clutch, and they are in the hunt for the first 2 or 3 spots in the West. And then come trade deadline, a someone who is just taller than 6'10", who can actually block some shots, shakes free, and they can bring that player in. And I'm not even worried about Jokic as much because Jokic is going to just do everybody poorly. I'm more looking at this Lakers matchup where the Lakers kind of exposed the Warriors in the playoffs about where you can go with that team. And if the offense isn't clicking and you have to play this possession style basketball, the Lakers are just going to be better at it. And the Lakers are improved this year, I think, roster wise.
I think so too.
And they find a big who can free up Draymond a little bit against someone like AD. Obviously, there's other players in the West who you may have to find a someone other than Draymond to always have to guard these guys because Draymond is already not healthy coming into this. It is only an ankle injury, so it's not like the back thing. So that happens in basketball. But the idea is like you need to keep Draymond healthy for this team to be good. And then they match up and they can beat the Lakers and the Nuggets, and then possibly be in the mix at the end there. And your Phoenix is, I look at Phoenix and I go, man, they're just going to wear down at the end of the season because of their lack of depth, rotational depth. And so that is best case to me. You give yourself a fighting chance against these bigger teams by bringing in a center, and you go toe to toe and you go, hey, Jokic, you've never beat us in any meaningful game. Let's go. And then if you can do that, you may be able to hang out in the NBA Finals again. So that is what I see as best case. Like best case to me isn't the Warriors go 69 and and 13 and blow through everybody. That type of team doesn't exist anymore. But there are things that could happen to where I think that they could be one of the top 3 teams in the West.
I think that there is a potential that they do come out firing like they did in the championship season and get off to like that kind of start. I think that is a possibility. I don't know how much the Phoenix game will tell. Like, obviously, if they blow Phoenix out, like we're going to be saying that probably. Like, I could assume that's going to be a lot of headlines, overreactions. But even if they lose the Phoenix, I feel like that's still potentially in play. I feel like that big thing, just getting another guy who's above the height of 6'10", is mainly just for the Lakers and like maybe like the Bucks on the other side. Because
we've mentioned Robert Williams on this podcast before. Like if he's healthy, he would be a perfect addition because you wouldn't really need to ask much out of him. He wouldn't even play more than 20 minutes a game, I don't think.
He's a prime trade candidate for the deadline as well, I believe. So but I feel like that's mainly just for the Lakers and like maybe the Bucks, because we have beaten the Nuggets without a guy above the height of 6'10". We've beaten the Celtics without one. I think we could beat Phoenix without one because if they're going to keep starting Nurkic, we're just going to go, we're going to play. But and then
I secretly think KD is going to be very frustrated with Nurkic this season.
Yeah, I don't know what the hell they're doing with that pickup. I don't know if it was more of like, hey, we just need to get rid of Ayton because it's kind of like the Wiseman situation where it's
God,
like
I know Ayton maybe doesn't have like that killer instinct, but still as a defensive player, someone who could actually play in the end of games when other teams go small, I would still bet on him more than I'd bet on Nurkic.
Yeah. But yeah, like I think if things go well, I think we're a top 3 seed, and like not even go. I think if they go over a top 4 seed, I think there's a realistic chance that we do have a top 3, even a top 2 seed. I don't know if that's a trade deadline candidate though. Like, when's the last time that I feel like this team has ever had a significant trade deadline acquisition that translated into the playoffs? Like
GP
too, but that doesn't count. I don't think that counts. Like, I'm talking about like completely different, hasn't played in the system. That's like the benefit of the Warriors stuff, is kind of having the continuity and same guys that come around every year that know the system. It's a big part of being on the Warriors. So
they were more like buy-in guys, and
I feel like it is a center though.
Free agent
I feel like
signings like Boogie and David West and those guys.
Yeah, I feel like the center position specifically for the Warriors is probably the least demanding, the least commanding position, even though we love the guys who could pass and guys who could play defense. But yeah, maybe
Who's going to
But yeah.
block any sort of shots this year for them? I can't see anybody really. GP might lead the team in blocks.
He
Just
might.
sneaking from behind and swatting guys out.
Yeah, he might. I think you're right about that.
Okay, so worst case scenario for me is CP doesn't work.
Injuries is the worst case scenario.
Well, there could be some injury problems. B pods and some of these younger players, Moody, Kuminga, they may have to play a little bit more than the Warriors want them to. And Steph isn't the same Steph. And if one or more than one of those things could possibly happen, and then you're talking about fighting for the playoffs and
We
getting
don't have
back
our pick either.
get back to the play-in scenario situation. So there's a lot of things that I think have to go right for the Warriors to compete at that high level. And I know that they built this roster to get back to competing at that high level. But man, there is some scary injury concern. There is some chemistry concern. There is some young player poutiness concern, not doing what they need them to do concern. And that could kind of cause them to drop and get closer to that 500 mark, which would put them in jeopardy. So that is kind of what you want to avoid. And I feel like by the first 10, 15 games, you'll probably be able to see if the chemistry stuff is there and how the rotation is fitting. Because I just remember last year we're watching games and going like, man, what is the rotation? They don't have a set rotation. Why is Moody playing in this game and then not playing in this game? So, I think that's up to Kerr and the coaching staff. They really got to figure out that rotation. All right, last thing here. What is your finals pick? I know. Have you guys done it on the BAM yet?
No, but I think we're gonna do it tomorrow.
Do you have a finals pick?
Shit. I think I'd probably go Bucks Lakers.
I was thinking Denver, Boston.
I really feel like I think if Denver goes back to the finals and then wins the finals, like I don't know, I feel like Jokic is like a top 10 player of all time. Like in only 2 rings. I just feel like it's really hard to I feel like I think the Warriors made us think that it's easy to go back to back. And when in reality, the most realistic thing to happen to a team that wins a championship is what happened to the Warriors last season. You're essentially just using the whole offseason to, champagne and campaign, baby. And you're just, I don't know, you reach the pinnacle of what you can reach in a team sport. Like there's just, you maybe just don't take the approach of the next season as seriously. And I feel like Denver kind of like, I didn't see any, this is none of my business, but I didn't see Jokic in the gym one time.
Because he doesn't have it. Does Jokic even have Instagram? Come on.
I saw that guy partying in Serbia anytime he was on a camera. So
what is the Lakers' frustration with the Nuggets? Was it just about trash talk? I see like LeBron and AD are like so serious about they're going to see us again and all this stuff. Like, what are you guys talking about?
I feel like they're just like trying to create something that's not there to keep them pushed. Keep them motivated.
All right, last thing, and we're going to get out of here, but we're going to come back Tuesday evening after game 1, and we'll give a quick recap of the game, and that will be our show for next week. I may be doing more mini podcasts, which is what I've been doing with 49ers We Want Winners podcast. If Brian and I will do a show once a week at least, and there may be some little mini episodes that I do that will be podcast only. So make sure you also are subscribed to the podcast feed, BSPN Bay Area Podcast Network. Okay, last thing is I keep mentioning this all-time Warriors team. I found my old doc. I'm updating that doc. I'm going through Basketball Reference, going through all the historical players for the San Francisco and Golden State Warriors. And I'm just going to read off the list that I put together, which was the year before they won the title in 14-15. So here is that list. Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Rick Barry, someone who you probably have never even heard of by the name of Tom Meschery was my power forward, but Draymond is the all-time best power forward in Warriors history. Nate Thurmond at center. Now, that would be the starting five. I'm not going to do a starting unit this time. I'm just going to do like the best 15 players of all time for the Warriors. And also the bench, I had Jeff Mullins, who was on the title winning team in 1975-76, or is it 74-75? I always forget. Latrell Sprewell from those early 90s teams before he decided to choke PJ Carlissimo. Chris Mullin, Tim Hardaway. So 2 of the 3 have run TMC. Robert Parrish, who became more famous on the Boston Celtics because the Warriors traded him to the Boston Celtics. Jason Richardson, Jay Rich, in the really bad years of the Warriors, he was one of their best players. David Lee, who will not be on this next team, but at that point, David Lee, just because of the numbers, was in the all-time team. Sleepy Floyd, my favorite player when I was a little kid. Anton Jameson and Clyde Lee. So who got left out? Phil Smith, Monte Ellis, Joe Barry Carroll, Purvis Short, Clifford Ray, Larry Smith. Since the title team, there's more players like Andre Iguodala. I mentioned Draymond. Kevin Durant, of course. So there's going to be some folks who are on that list from 10 years ago who will not be on it this time. But I should have that updated by Tuesday morning, which is opening night in the NBA. So I will pass that around, get your thoughts, get everybody's thoughts on it. We'll throw it up on Twitter and such. So, all right, that is it. We'll be back Tuesday night. I will be back tomorrow night or Monday night with Rod for We Want Winners. Brad and I will be up Tuesday night for Thompson to Clark. Brian and I will be up late Tuesday night. So it's going to be busy over the next few days. We're going to have lots of content in this feed. So make sure you subscribe on YouTube. Make sure you're subscribed via Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever you use. And that is it from here. For Bri, I am Double G. We will see you when we see you. Peace out.